Howdy, Hoof here. What did you eat today? How bad do your farts smell today? And the most important question of all, how do you think we can save TF2? Well, here's my situation. Let me set you up to speed, then we'll get started talking about this topic. I actually doom posted not too long ago about TF2. Actually, it was my last video. But now I think it's time to inject a little bit of hopium directly into our veins. So in this video, we'll be discussing how to save TF2. A little bit like a wish list, but I will try to come up with some realistic ideas as well. But let's keep in mind, full disclosure here, I am stupid. And yes, you'll see here that we're live. And if you'd like to be a part of this yourself, feel free to hop into the next live stream. Let's get into it. First thing I have up on the agenda is talking about the updates. We did discuss a lot of negative aspects of updates earlier. Most of the things I had to say, problems I have with updates, lack of polish. I haven't had a lot of first-hand issues with updates. I've mostly heard other people, like content creators, say that updates have a lot of polish issues. Sometimes even they can become almost unplayable. That's what I've heard. Yes, but I have heard people say online through content that these updates have a lot of polish issues. Sometimes not even playable. For me, the only thing that sticks out to me really is the map bloat. That's the only thing I have a genuine issue with. They keep adding a bunch of maps to the game, but I'm not going to be able to play all the maps. It's just a big issue for me personally. Cosmetics, yeah, there's bloat with cosmetics, I suppose. But for me personally, I don't really have too much of an issue with that. Now, how do we fix this? I've personally came up with only a couple ideas. We need to find a way to make these issues that happen more temporary. Ideally, they wouldn't happen to begin with, but I don't think Valve is willing to really put in much more effort on these updates and stuff, unfortunately. So I was thinking, why don't we set up a situation where the maps that are used during the updates and things like that are more of a event type of thing, where they're not going to be added to the game for longer than the update, and maybe, just maybe, we can add like the best one after things have been tested and things like that. No issues are going to be allowed to be added permanently into the game. Maybe one map per update is added, but it's going to be, map tested, things like that. The way that it's negative is maybe people don't like the idea of adding things to a game and then they aren't permanent. But what's actually stuck out a lot for me is how much opportunity that gives you. You can play around with the game, and it doesn't have to be that serious. Let's see. Vote on what map of that update to keep. That's a good idea. See, I like that idea. Just the whole idea is that there's too many maps added. Let's cut down on the maps added. And let's make those maps that are added more impactful. Ideally, we would remove some of these updated maps, but I don't think that's going to happen. That's like a wish list aspect of this. Oh, here's another thing with updates. I think that we need to, alongside the regular updates, there needs to be some sort of community involvement that is directly hosted and implemented by Valve. I would not be opposed, and I don't think many people would be opposed, if the updates become less content focused or less content permanent, and then we shift it a little bit more into interactivity between Valve and the community. Now, I don't have any actual things to say, like I don't have a campaign to run here. I don't think, haven't come up with anything specific. What I do have to say though is, let's give the community maybe some sort of objective. Maybe there's like something we can all rally behind, whether it is content creator focused, in-game focused, of a background thing going on that we could kind of rally behind. And then that's the thing that happens. And then there's maybe a reward given to the community. You know, I like someone said earlier, who said that actually? Engineer said something where they're like, you vote for the map, something like that. Some sort of interactivity would make it a little bit more bearable that there's not much in terms of content. I really don't know that content is the way to go, at least the way that it is. It's more quality over quantity. I think involvement means that we can have less quality, less quantity, and then people will be more engaged, maybe. Could be wrong on that, though. Could be wrong. I'm an idiot. The community already does so many things on their own. For Valve to just do something, just put their hat in the ring. Well, maybe Valve wouldn't even have to do it themselves. Maybe that's a way to go about it, because the community already keeps itself pretty busy. Maybe not right now. I've heard people say online and videos that it's slowing down a little bit as far as the community is concerned. But some sort of involvement with Valve and the community would be nice. Alright, let's move on to the next topic. We also need votes that must be added from Workshop that people truly choose. That is a really good idea. Don't like the idea. I've heard a lot of issues with Valve where it seems like there's bias in the types of content that's actually added into the game from the community. I like the idea of actually having our votes count. I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about the maps of the game. A little bit of a retread of some of the things we've talked about before, but again, I just need to highlight it. It bothers me so much. There are too many maps in this game. Going forward, and this may be a little bit more hopium and idealism and wish list type of a suggestion I'm making, I really do think that we need to delete some of these maps. I've heard people say that we add like, what, 10 maps per update? Correct me if I'm wrong, please, chat. That's too many maps. As a younger fella, I think I would have thought that was amazing. A great way to keep things alive, but I've since circled back on that thought. I don't think that is true. I don't think that the way to keep this game going is to just continuously add maps, because it's just, we can't physically play the maps. Maybe if the maps were all of good quality, then I would change, but unfortunately, that's where I'm at personally right now. As it stands, it's rare for me to care about new maps, especially when I know that they're community made and Valve's not touching them at all. If Valve were to touch them and give them a run through, a bit of polish, that would be a different scenario. But as far as my understanding, that's not what's happening. Alright, last but not least here, I want to discuss the matchmaking. Of course, it always comes down to matchmaking. I've seen a lot of people discussing on the internet. They always talk about matchmaking. Now, whether or not it is actually in fact the popular opinion in TF2's community, I do think that the biggest problem with TF2 right now is the matchmaking, and I do think it's extremely embarrassing that nobody plays competitive. I've never touched competitive. I've never been compelled to play competitive once I've found out the reputation that it has. Competitive, in my mind, should just be removed from the game if it's possible, and I think that, well, we're going to go into the wish list territory of how to fix matchmaking. The biggest issue I have with matchmaking is it doesn't feel like it's in line with the way that I enjoy TF2, which is very casually play this game, which means I should be able to drop in and out of games extremely easily. I think that also means I should get a good amount of experiences when I play TF2. There's a lot of things you can turn on and off. I understand and appreciate that. Aside from that, it all goes back to quick play, really. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think quick play will fix everything. I don't actually understand how that would work. But I think something like quick play should be implemented. Maybe that would take a lot of work. Maybe Valve is not willing to do that much work to implement something similar to quick play, a new modernized iteration of quick play. I think it would be worth it, though, for them to try to do something like that. Let me know what you think, though. It just sucks right now for me, personally, and it feels like we're lacking whatever it is that people say when they talk about quick play on the internet. They always say that there's that aspect of TF2 that we're missing out on. And I think that we need to tap into whatever it is, whether it is a new form of matchmaking or going back to some form of quick play. Now, I was thinking to fill in the hole that competitive, well, I guess it's not really a hole because not many people are playing the official competitive matchmaking thing. But quick play, the biggest thing with quick play that I've heard is that it does merge Valve official servers with community server, which I think is a good idea. I think that should be implemented. And you should be able to turn it off and on if you want to play an official Valve, however Valve blah 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 works. That should be one of the things you can turn on and off. I think that there should also be a thing where you can toggle on and off custom servers that represent themselves with a tag or flare way of organizing themselves as being competitive. I think that would be an interesting way of going about it. Again, we're kind of going in wish list territory there. I don't know how realistic that is. Maybe someone will have a very, very accurate reason why that would be stupid. But that's kind of what I was thinking about that. Yeah, let's go back to some more general ideas. We just need to have Source 2 TF2 at some point. It has to happen. Otherwise, I believe TF2 will slowly but surely come into a slow death, probably. It might not be that dramatic, but I think that's just the way things will be heading if we don't get some sort of modernized iteration of TF2. Now, I'm assuming that Valve is waiting for some of the projects that they got going on, and I think that they, at some point, do plan to do this. I don't think that Valve is that dumb. I think that they will, at some point, plan to put Source 2. It just needs to happen sooner than later. I think that people are getting burned out. Their butt cheeks are sore from being wiped from Valve without getting your baby powder in there. They've just been doing it dry, and we're tired of it. We don't want that anymore. We need something that's going to show us that they're invested in the game. They actually want to push the game forward because they're maintaining the servers, right? They're maintaining the servers. They're still making money off of it. People still want to play the game. I still want to play the game, but I want it to be good and fun. If I could have one wish out of everything I've said during this video here of me talking about how would I go about fixing TF2. I know it's a lot of work, but I think it's the single most valuable thing that could be changed about the game. They're bringing it into the modern era. We know that they've done it with Counter-Strike. It's probably possible. Realistically, I don't know how soon or when it would happen, but Source 2 needs to happen. That's kind of the biggest thing that I can think of. Now, maybe they're waiting for projects to go by. We've heard a lot of rumors about Half-Life X, Half-Life 3, whatever. I will be really happy when those things happen. I think that when those things happen, that will give a lot of the community grace. Maybe this is why they haven't really been able to put anything big into TF2. We also have the history that Valve has put in where they just don't really do much with TF2. So that's also what we're working up against. But I think those projects coming out will give us some grace. So that's another thing that can help with the TF2 life health of the game is we just need to see what the hell they're doing. Anyways, those are pretty much all of my thoughts on it. Another idea that I have now that I think about it is that Valve should pay me money for giving all of these really gorgeous, voluptuous ideas. Feel free to let me know what you think about all this. All right. See you around. Let me know how your day's going. Goodbye.